You booked a solo getaway, one ticket, one seat. No chaos, no compromises. Just you, a window seat, and a much-needed break. Then at checkout, surprise, Delta adds a $19 charge, not for a checked bag, not for priority boarding, just because you're flying alone. That's $20.25 for you. This summer, airlines rolled out a wave of new rules, some quiet, some sneaky, and some that straight up penalize how you travel. Book a flight solo? Pay more. Don't use the app? No boarding pass. Bring the wrong battery? You're grounded. And the worst part? Many of these rules weren't even announced. You only find out when you're standing at the gate, wallet open, confused, and already behind schedule. So in this video, I'm breaking down the stealthiest airline rule changes of 2025, what changed, who it affects, and how to stay one step ahead so you're not the one left paying for efficiency. Let's start with the most ridiculous new fee of all, the one that punishes you for flying solo. You finally found the perfect weekend to travel solo. You're thinking, easy trip, smooth boarding, less chaos. But then comes the surprise. Delta just charged you an extra $19. Why? Because you booked alone. That's right. As of summer 2025, Delta quietly introduced a new policy called the Solo Flyer Boarding Efficiency Fee. Sounds official, but what it really means is, if you're flying by yourself, you'll pay more than someone flying with a companion. This isn't just a fee, it's a penalty for independence. The airline claims it's about improving boarding flow. Their explanation? Solo travelers supposedly slow things down. They say flying in pairs or groups helps speed up seat assignments and boarding order. But let's be real, who actually causes boarding chaos? It's not the solo traveler with one backpack and a boarding pass ready. It's the family of 5 looking for overhead bin space like they're on a scavenger hunt. And here's what makes it worse. The surcharge isn't clearly displayed. For many flyers, it just shows up in the total price with no clear label, until you notice the fine print. There is one small workaround. Passengers booking 2 or more seats under the same reservation seem to avoid the fee. So technically, if you book with a friend, even if you're not sitting next to them, you might dodge the extra charge. Still, it feels unfair that you need to game the system just to travel alone. Naturally, the reaction was swift. Frequent flyers, especially solo travelers and older passengers, criticized the move as unfair and discriminatory. The outcry was loud enough that within days, Delta walked it back in silence. No press release, no apology. But here's the part that matters. Other airlines were paying attention. There's already buzz that United and American are experimenting with similar surcharges behind the scenes. So if you thought this was a one-off misstep, think again. Because in 2025, even flying alone can come with extra baggage. And hey, do you usually travel solo or with someone else? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious how many of us would have been hit with this. Imagine showing up at the airport, thinking you'll just check in at the kiosk like always. You've done it 100 times. Swipe your ID, print your boarding pass, done. Except this time, it doesn't work. Because as of July 2025, United now requires all economy passengers to check in using the app. No app, no boarding pass. If that sounds dramatic, it kind of is. The airline says it's part of a new, frictionless travel experience. But in practice, it means if your phone dies, if you don't have the app installed, or if you're just not tech-savvy, you might end up in line at customer service, begging for a paper pass like it's 1997. There is a way around it. Sort of. Premium passengers and elite status members can still check in at the airport, no questions asked. But for the rest of us flying basic economy, the app is now your gatekeeper. What makes this even trickier? The change wasn't exactly shouted from the rooftops. No big announcement, just a quiet little update in the fine print, and next thing you know, you're that passenger holding up the boarding line. Some travelers have already been turned away at self-service kiosks, redirected to long counter lines, or charged extra for airport-issued boarding passes on international flights. Others with old phones or glitchy apps, stuck restarting their devices while boarding groups sail past. Booked a United flight this summer? Do yourself a favor. Download the app before you even leave the house. Log in, check in, screenshot your pass, Maybe even save it to your digital wallet and email it to yourself, because this isn't the kind of policy you want to find out about at the airport. 2025 may be the year your phone becomes your ticket, literally. Southwest used to be the rebel of the skies. No change fees, no bag fees, no seat assignments. Just show up, grab a spot, and fly. But in 2025, that Southwest is gone. In a move that shocked even its most loyal flyers, Southwest just announced two major changes to how it does business, and both go straight against what made them famous. Turns out, loyalty doesn't stop the fees anymore. First, checked bag fees are now a thing. After years of proudly advertising bags fly free, they've slipped in a new policy on select domestic routes. You now get just one free checked bag. The second, that'll be $35. And if you're flying to Hawaii or internationally, both bags might cost you, depending on the ticket tier. Second, assigned seating is finally here. For decades, Southwest operated on open seating. Check in early, board early, sit where you want. Now that's changing. They're testing assigned seats on several high-volume routes. Middle seat in row 25? That's yours. Don't like it? You can pay to upgrade, of course. For longtime fans of the airline, this feels like betrayal. No more racing to check in 24 hours in advance. No more friendly aisle window swaps with a stranger. Now, you'll get a seat like any other airline and possibly pay extra to change it. The company says it's responding to customer feedback, but let's be honest, it's also responding to investor pressure. When every other airline charges for basics, free starts to look like missed revenue. Planning to fly Southwest this summer? Don't assume the old rules still apply. Check your ticket type. Double-check your baggage allowance. And if you're not happy sitting in 27B, better believe that upgrade option will be waiting. 2025 is the year Southwest officially joins the rest of the airline industry. And for many travelers, that's the end of an era. Power banks used to be the quiet hero of every flight. Tucked into your bag, ready to save your dying phone when the in-seat USB port gave up, again. But in 2025, they've suddenly become a red flag item. After a serious onboard fire linked to a power bank on a flight in South Korea earlier this year, airlines around the world have started tightening the rules. Some Asian carriers now ban power bank use entirely once on board. Others only allow it if the charger stays in your personal item under the seat, never in the overhead bin. Here in the US, Southwest became the first major airline to follow suit. Starting in May 2025, passengers are no longer allowed to use a power bank if it's stored overhead. If you want to charge mid-flight, your device needs to be clearly visible and within reach. Think tray table, seat back pocket, or hand. Out of sight? That's a safety risk. Cabin crew may ask you to unplug it or stow it properly. The reason? In an emergency, seconds count. If a battery overheats or starts smoking, they need to see it and get to it fast. And if you're thinking, mine's a good brand, I'm fine? Well, even Anchor, one of the most trusted names in portable charging, just recalled over 1.1 million units of its PowerCore 10000 model A11263. The devices, manufactured between 2016 and 2019, were found to pose a lithium-ion fire risk. The recall, issued in June 2025, is a stark reminder that even big-name brands aren't immune. Are you still using an old power bank? Might be time to double-check. So what's the takeaway? If you travel with a power bank, keep it in your personal item. Never put it in checked baggage, that's already banned. And skip the cheap, no-name battery packs. If the industry's best are recalling products, off-brand chargers aren't worth the gamble. Most importantly, check your airline's power bank policy before you fly. Rules now vary wildly between carriers, and you don't want to find out mid-flight that your charger has ended up on the no-go list without so much as a heads up. You've got a return ticket from Paris, same flight you've taken for years. You head to the airport, bags in tow, only to find out it's been canceled. Not delayed, not rescheduled, just gone. That's what happened to Tom, a retired teacher from Seattle, flying home after visiting his grandkids in Lyon. His usual direct flight? Axed. The airline had scaled back service from smaller European cities, and no one told him until check-in. His only option? An overnight layover in Frankfurt, a 13-hour delay, and zero compensation, because technically, the flight still got him home. Eventually. Could your direct flight disappear without notice? In 2025, this kind of thing is happening more often. Since the start of the year, multiple US carriers have quietly cut flights from Canada and smaller European cities, especially secondary airports like Edinburgh, Manchester, Lyon, and even Halifax. The reason? Rising fuel costs, pilot shortages, and tight gate access in the US mean airlines are trimming routes they see as low yield. What they're not trimming is ticket prices. In fact, some of these cities now see fares jump because fewer flights mean less competition, and travelers often don't realize their airport has been deprioritized until it's too late. The booking still shows a connection until a few weeks out when the airline consolidates routes or reroutes you through two different countries just to get home. If you're flying to or from a non-hub city in 2025, check the schedule every couple weeks, even after booking. Confirm which airline is actually operating the flight, and consider booking through the airline directly instead of third-party sites, so you can rebook faster if the flight vanishes. Because this year, what used to be a direct flight home might turn into a 36-hour detour you never saw coming. Surprise! You booked JetBlue. You're flying United. This summer, while travelers were busy figuring out new bag fees and check-in rules, United and JetBlue slipped into a partnership, and unless you've been deep into airline press releases, you probably missed it. It's not a full-blown merger. No new logos, no big headlines. But behind the scenes, the two carriers are now sharing routes, coordinating schedules, and cross-listing flights under a new strategic cooperation agreement. What does that mean for you? Well, it depends. In theory, it sounds great. More options, more connections, better route coverage. But in reality, some passengers are already noticing the cracks. You book a JetBlue flight only to find it's being operated by United on a smaller plane with different baggage rules and no seatback screens. Or worse, you call JetBlue customer service for help and they bounce you over to United, who says they can't help because you booked through JetBlue. And let's talk delays. Travelers have reported missed connections because one leg was with United, the other with JetBlue, and neither airline took responsibility when things fell apart. Luggage got misrouted, credits got denied, boarding groups got confused. It's the kind of mess that happens when two different systems try to act like one, but aren't quite there yet. There's also the pricing side. Some overlapping routes have quietly jumped in price. When airlines cooperate, they don't have to compete quite as hard. Fewer deals, less incentive to undercut each other. And guess who pays the difference? That's why industry watchers are comparing this move to a mini merger, one that dodges antitrust alarms but still changes the playing field. So if you're flying either airline in 2025, double-check who's really operating your flight. Read the fine print on baggage and seating. And if you're planning a tight connection between the two, give yourself more wiggle room than usual. Because when two airlines shake hands in the background, it's often the passengers who feel the turbulence. US citizens now need permission to enter the UK, even for a layover. You hear that right. Maybe you've been to London before. Maybe you're just connecting through Heathrow on your way to Rome. Either way, if you're an American passport holder, it's no longer as simple as show up and go. Starting October 2025, the United Kingdom is launching a new electronic travel authorization system, ETA for short, for all visa-free visitors, including Americans. It's not a visa, no interview, no consulate appointment, but you do have to apply online at least 72 hours before your trip. And if you don't, you're not boarding that flight. The cost? £10, about $13. It's valid for 2 years and usually gets approved within minutes. But here's what most travelers miss. Your airline is required to verify that ETA before check-in. No ETA, no flight. Period. This system mirrors the US ESTA requirement for Europeans, so in a way, it's just the UK returning the favor. But many Americans are still getting caught off guard. And one more thing, the ETA isn't guaranteed. While most are approved fast, some aren't, and if you leave it until the last minute, you might be stuck. So if the UK is on your 2025 travel list, even as a quick stop, treat the ETA like a boarding pass. Without it, you're not going anywhere. In 2025, standing up early might cost more than your coffee. We've all seen it. The second the plane touches down, seatbelts start clicking like popcorn. Someone in row 26 is already halfway to the front, dodging elbows like it's a track meet. It's the great post-landing sprint to freedom. But this year, that sprint might come with a fine. Several major airlines, including big names like Turkish Airlines, are now cracking down on passengers who stand up before the seatbelt sign is off. And we're not just talking stern looks or extra announcements. In some cases, travelers have been fined before even leaving the aisle. Why the crackdown? Airlines say it's about safety. During taxiing, sudden stops can still happen, and if you're walking around, you're a flying object. Plus, premature movement slows down the entire deplaning process, especially for those who actually follow instructions. And enforcement is getting real. In Europe, Ryanair and Lufthansa have already issued official warnings on post-landing behavior. In the US, some flight attendants are being trained to report early standers, especially those who ignore repeated announcements. So yes, you might save 30 seconds by jumping up early, but it could cost you $100 and a lifetime of side-eye from the crew. Better to wait for the chime. Your bag's not going anywhere. You've been racking up miles, swiping your card, staying loyal to one airline, one hotel chain, thinking I've earned my perks. But in 2025, loyalty isn't what it used to be. Let's start with American Airlines and Hyatt. For years, they had this cozy setup: fly with American, stay at Hyatt, and your points work both ways. But that partnership? Gone. As of January 2025, you can't earn cross points between the two anymore. Instead, American now offers something new. Spend big. We're talking 150,000 loyalty points, and you might get a free Hyatt night. That's not exactly a generous exchange, especially if you were counting on those hotel stays to help earn airline status, or vice versa. And it's not just American. Over at Delta, lounge access is starting to feel like a luxury upgrade. Since February 1st, 2025, Amex Platinum card holders only get 10 Sky Club visits per year, unless they spend more than $75,000 annually. Delta Reserve cards get you 15 entries. So if you were used to popping into the lounge every trip, you might be in for a locked door. Even worse, some SkyTeam lounges now enforce stricter rules. Elite Plus members can only bring a guest if they're on the same flight, and access is limited to 3 hours before departure. This policy is already active in major hubs like Amsterdam and Atlanta, but it's rolling out unevenly elsewhere. You'll want to double-check each airport's rules before showing up early. Looking ahead, United Airlines is next in line. Rumor has it they're planning a major price hike. Lounge membership could hit $750 a year or 94,000 miles, and they're expected to cut guest access and remove entry to some Star Alliance lounges unless you pay for top-tier plans. No official rollout date yet, but insiders say late 2025 or early 2026. The worst part? These changes often come without warning. According to Forbes, many travelers were caught off guard, especially those relying on shared point systems or frequent lounge access. So if you're a points enthusiast, it's time to rethink the game. Track your access limits, recheck your favorite lounge's policy, and maybe, just maybe, don't put all your loyalty in one basket. Let's say your flight gets delayed or canceled, or you paid for extra legroom and Wi-Fi, but ended up with neither. For years, you'd file a complaint, wait weeks, maybe argue with a chatbot, and still walk away with nothing. But starting in late 2024, that's changing, because the U.S. Department of Transportation has stepped in. Under new DOT rules, airlines are now required to refund you automatically. No begging, no chasing. So what counts? If your domestic flight is delayed more than 3 hours or 6 hours for international, you're owed a refund. If your bags arrive late or your paid add-ons weren't delivered, same deal. And yes, The refund has to come fast, 7 days if you paid with a card, 20 days for anything else. And if you're ever bumped off a flight because they oversold the seats, the airline has to pay you up to $2,150, depending on how late you arrive. No more vague travel credits. This is real money, tied to real inconvenience. Another major update, 24/7 live customer service. Any airline flying planes with 30 seats or more must now offer a free, direct line to a human being, via call, chat, or message. No more endless hold music. No more business hours only support. They've also tightened the rules on tarmac delays. If your plane is stuck on the ground for over 2 hours, the airline has to offer you food and water. After 3 hours, they must let you off, unless there's a legitimate safety reason. And if your bag goes missing or gets damaged, you can claim up to $3,800, with no limit if the damaged item is a mobility aid like a wheelchair. These protections apply to all flights touching U.S. soil, domestic or international, and they're already in effect. Not sure how to file a claim or where to check your eligibility? Everything is laid out at the Department of Transportation's website, including how to escalate if the airline gives you the runaround. Airline policies are changing fast in 2025. Some for the better, some not so much. But staying informed, that's how you stay ahead. If this video helped you avoid a nasty surprise at the airport, drop a comment, share it with a fellow traveler, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's travel hacks. Thanks for flying smarter with me. See you in the next video.